I don't track what time someone starts and finishes or even how much work that they do, but I do track on deliverables.
Yeah.
I do track on communication. I do track on and always constantly improve on their creative interpretation and things like that.
Dadvertising. Dadvertising. Digital dads doing the thing. Running business while raising kids. Dadvertising.
Welcome to Dadvertising.
Dadvertising.
Awesome. All right, so let's get straight into it. Today we are covering our top books, movies, and podcasts. So I've got 5, Alex has 5. We're going to count down our favourite ones. So these are a little bit entrepreneurial.
It's contextual. These are not my 5 top. They're the 5 ones that have influenced my kind of business and life
Okay,
decisions
yes,
the most.
there we go.
If we were doing top 5, none of these would be on there.
Okay.
You know, so
These are the influences.
the things that I feel have been helpful this year for me in the way I make decisions about business and life. If I was doing top 5, it'd be all Martin Scorsese, and that sounds cliche, but like Goodfellas and Godfather and The Irishman.
Oh, yeah.
I love those movies so much.
The Irishman.
The Irishman, do you see it?
Okay.
It's longer than the Bible. It is the longest movie of all time. But
I think, I checked out
yeah.
pretty quickly, but I think it's one that I need to...
I watched it over like 3 nights.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to count down from 5 down to 1.
Yeah.
All right. So
Are yours ordered? Mine are not in a particular order.
But
But we'll
no,
see.
I don't. Do you want to start?
Sure, man. So what I've got here, number 5, very interesting book. And for transparency, because we love transparency in this podcast.
Yeah.
These are all audio books.
Full transparency.
I don't believe I've read a physical book in many years, but I've always got one
I'm
or
the
two.
same, actually. I don't think I've read a book.
Well, you drive around a lot, you fly. Audiobooks are great. And I walk every day. It's always like when I'm walking, exercising, audiobooks. Number 5 for me was The Coddling of the American Mind by Jonathan Haidt, which it's a little bit of a political book, just in the way it talks about how we've risen to this place of real sort of safetyism in young people these days, where they get very, very offended and triggered by a lot of stuff, and what led there, and social media being a big culprit, also parenting styles, that sort of thing. You know how there's a lot more peanut allergies these days than there used to be. That's not just because we know about it more, it's because people started getting scared of them, actively avoiding them, and in doing that, it created less resilience and therefore led to more peanut allergies, right? So it's like the myth of fragility and anti-fragility. And what I thought was cool about that book is it's based on, I think, 3 myths, which are like us versus them, the myth of fragility, and another one, and it's kind of the fact that we do a lot of things with good intentions, but they're actually causing bad results.
Yeah, right.
And it's mostly affected the way I parent, but it's also affected the way I run a team in that, and the way I take responsibility for things, I suppose.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool book. It's
Yeah.
nothing to do with business, but
I've never heard of that book prior to you mentioning it, so I'm keen to check it out.
super interesting as a parent, especially with kids going into, being surrounded by the internet.
Yeah.
Because there's a direct correlation, it seems, from people getting access to social media and the rise of depression, anxiety, cancel culture, needing safe spaces around certain words, and people just not really being prepared for stuff that they don't agree with.
Yeah.
Interesting book.
Interesting. All right. Number 5 for me is Green Light by Matthew McConaughey.
What a stud.
Oh, it is like, honestly, I think I've listened to it 2 or 3 times now.
Yep.
One, because I as you pointed out, I travel a lot, but it is so soothing. It's sort of like, it's like watching, it's being able to listen to an audiobook whilst also picturing in your mind. He's so good at describing his environment, and he's just got that soothing voice.
He sounds like a bubble bath, doesn't he?
It's a perfect way of.
You know what's so cool about him?
Yeah.
Great business lesson in there as well is the chapters where he's talking about how they were throwing money at him to do rom-coms. Yeah. And he got pigeonholed.
Yes.
And he didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So he made the decision to turn down $17 million scripts so he could pursue things like Dallas Buyers Club. Yeah. And there's a really great bit when he's saying, like, I read the script for this rom-com that they offered me $2 million for. I didn't like it. Yeah. And then by the time they offered me $14 million, the script was a lot better.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's such a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
I love that book too.
Yeah. No, so I loved Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. And just on that book, I think what I also love about it is now that I live on the Central Coast, he actually explains the time he came to Australia and where he lived with like this family. It's actually literally where he was is 5 minutes down the road.
Yes.
In a place called Warnervale. Yeah. So he was literally describing suburbs from like up the coast, like he's Toukley and this place, and it's like Gorican and blah 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 blah, and then it's like literally like the place that he settled in is 5 minutes down the road. Yeah. So it was just, I was like, what? He's literally like, so that was really cool. The first time.
Yeah. Oh God, he's so cool. He's such a cool dude. Driving around his caravan, drinking tequila with his dog, that sort of thing. Yeah. That's the life. He's nailed it. Number 4 for me is a book that I loved parts of it and mostly despised, was The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Yeah. E standing for entrepreneur, not E as in internet. What does the E stand for in internet? Why is that the thing?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Yeah.
E-commerce, who knows? Anyway, what's really cool about that book is it's based around systemizing things, and the E-Myth being that you kind of, if you are a good craftsman, then you'll be a good business owner in that craft. And it's based around Sarah, who runs a pie shop, and he kind of tells a story about her and then gives you a chapter about tangible business advice. Yeah. It's just the stories go on forever. Yeah. And they're clearly just made up, and it's not a real story, and they're nonsense. But the book itself has some really solid lessons, and the kind of thing that if he'd just taken that book and just put the business advice in there, and you could read it in 3 hours, like my number one book on this list that we both share, it would have been such a better book.
Yeah, there you go.
In my opinion, as a professional author.
There you go. All right. My number 4 is The 5 Love Languages. Now, I was actually tossing up between this book, like for a specific reason, and How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie. But I went with 5 Love Languages because I think it's impacted me the most, and it was more so around understand and put it this way, my business really got started by working with my wife. Yeah. And for anyone in any sort of relationship, whether you're in business or not together, just in life together, I think this book is definitely worth reading.
Yep.
So the 5 Love Languages talks about acts of service, words of affirmation,
quality time, physical touch.
Yep.
And
I think the last one was I can't remember.
Sending each other memes. I think that's
that's the
quality
one.
Memes.
Yeah, quality memes. But anyway, the 5 Love Languages. I really enjoyed this book.
Yeah.
Did I say acts of service?
You did.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I can't remember.
Because you work with Jess, your wife.
Yeah, because it's really important to understand how she works and operates. Yeah. Because, and also how you work and operate.
Gifts.
Gifts
was
exactly.
fifth one.
No.
Yeah, it is.
It's what is it? Gifts. Yeah, gifts.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so it's understanding how people work, especially team members. You know, someone may just need, so for me, I'm a words of affirmation person. If you tell me Like, the post I did yesterday
Yeah.
from this recording was I shared like an employee who left our business, but he wrote this really cool, like, you're a leader, this, like, I love this about you. Like, that was like, that's the best way to boost my ego.
Totally.
Yeah.
I can live off the compliment for weeks.
Exactly. Like a please and a thank you goes so far. And appreciate you goes so far for like what we would do for a client and what we would do for a business when that comes. So the 5 love languages was number 4.
Hell yeah, brother. Number 3 for me is it's a TV show, TV series. Wall Street, spelt Wahl, as in Mark Wahlberg. And this is a really interesting show. It's documenting, we all know him as a movie star, but he's like a serial entrepreneur. I think he's got like 12 different companies.
Yeah, and he did that show, what's it called? No, keep going.
Is it Wall Street, the one I'm currently talking about?
No. He produced the one with I loved that show as well.
He has a production company called Unrealistic Expectations, which for me is too long of a name for a company. But so he's got a production company, F45, he's massive in Wahlburgers. He's got like clothing brand Municipal, and then he invests in tequila and in like everything.
The Entourage is the one.
Oh, did he?
The show The Entourage is actually about his life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or he's sort of Anyway, he's the producer or director of one of those shows, I'm sure. But
Makes sense. Yeah. So I was really interested in that show because it's following his life as lockdowns happen. Yeah, basically, and everything's working, and then lockdowns happen, and everything's fucked. Yeah, basically, and he's dealing with that, and he's this larger than life. The hustler, gets up at 2 a.m, trains, all his businesses, and it made me realize how much more capacity for risk I can take on, but also how far I don't want to go. Not that I'm ever expecting to get to his level, but that guy doesn't sleep and he doesn't spend any time with his family.
Isn't it cool? Like, and we've talked about Grant Cardone and Gary Vee and a whole bunch of others. Isn't it cool? It's just as important to know what you don't want. Yeah. As to what you do want. Yeah. Because by not knowing what you don't want also helps you to decide more on what you do want.
Exactly.
Yeah. So understanding, I love that.
Good show.
Beautiful. All right. Another one that I haven't watched, I'm really keen to check out. All right. Number 3 for me is the movie The Founder. So this is Ray Kroc, the McDonald's story. This I love, honestly. Like when I'm away, I love hero stories or like the heroes, especially entrepreneurial ones. So The Wolf of Wall Street, anything that sort of talks about someone's journey from start to finish. Even
Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith.
Yeah, Pursuit of Happiness is another good one. The Social Network, how Facebook started.
Interesting you said hero.
8 Mile.
Hero story. In Social Network, The Founder, and Wolf of Wall Street, none of them are very nice guys.
No, but that's the thing, right? Even like The Wolf of Wall Street, the amount of drugs. Like I'm now sober for almost be 4 years in March. Yeah. Right. And like but his rise and his crumble. Yeah. And say what you will about him today and the character he is. It's just a cool story. Of I know I've personally had these huge amounts of success that once I got there, I didn't even know what to do with my money. Like I felt like I'd made more money than I knew what to do with, and then I quickly came back to reality, and learned some real things, about not boosting my ego and things like that. And so I think it's these movies, but The Founder, it's just I love. Even that, the way that it finishes, like he burns and buries the guys who started Macca's from the original thing. Yeah. And even the way he explains it, like, would you be willing to put a hose in the mouth of your competitors or something like that? Something really like sinister. Yeah. That I don't think I would ever be willing to do. But it's just, again, I love those hero stories, and that's one of my favorites. Just watching, like, I really resonate with, like, you know, the door knocking at the, like, he was driving back, like, countless miles. Like, I remember literally walking into, like, you know, even, like, I've got a buddy in Penrith of mine who we now joke about it. Like, I walked into a dentist, like, off the street, just like, hey, can I help you with your social media? And it was the most fucking awkward thing. And he entertained it. We never worked together, but, like, I literally caught up with him. He's also a Panthers fan. Caught up with him and, like, laughed about, like, you know, what happened and all those other things. But yeah, that's, everyone goes through these elements where you get heaps of rejection and then you break through success. So that's one of my ones.
Founder's a great movie.
Yeah.
My second one is very left of field. It's called Prepared by Mike Glover. So Mike Glover's an like, one of those gnarly American Army segments, like the SEALs or the Green Berets or something. And it's a book about basically just being ready for situations. It's not like a survivalist book, like have a bunch of stuff in the garage. It's more so like if an emergency was to happen, if shit was to go down, would you be ready for it? So it's not even a first aid book. It's more like almost like a situational awareness book, having a plan book. And this is more so a life thing, but also it's a business thing.
Yeah.
Because it's got things like a concept called a PACE plan, PACE. Primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. Those 4 plans. So if there was a fire right now in this studio, our primary plan would be go out the front door. What's the alternate plan? What's the contingency? And what's last resort? PACE plan's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So that's a great book, and it just makes me think about life, situational awareness differently, and just not be on autopilot all the time, which is great as a parent as well. And I do have a couple of first aid kits and stuff like that in the car now.
There you go.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Straight Talk with Mark Boris, a podcast that I really, really like.
Sydney man.
Legend. He's obviously many years ahead of me in business, but I like how he says it as it is. He's a very relatable person.
Yep.
And he has a lot of cool guests who are very, very relatable, given that they're Australians as well. So I would highly recommend.
Yeah, Barack Obama on, didn't
Did
he?
he?
Pretty sure I think Obama was in the country like a couple of months ago, and I'm pretty sure he was on Mark Boris's podcast.
There you go.
Some big names on there.
Yeah, right.
Cool dude. He was a mortgage broker. Is that what he started off as?
Yeah, with Aussie
Brick
Home
Road.
Loans. Yeah, Aussie Home Loans. And
He seems like
I don't know. Was it Aussie?
Yellow Brick Road.
Yellow Brick Road, yeah.
He's a straight talking guy.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah.
I like Mark Boris.
Yeah.
And finally, $100 million Office for Me by Alex Hormozy.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the
Yes.
time. This is what I wish for E-Myth was. This is a 3.5-hour audio book that he gives away for 99 cents.
Yeah.
And it is just value, tangible idea. Do this, write this down, and it will change your entire life.
If you, like, literally, if you understand this book, if you understand the fundamental pieces of this book from a marketing perspective, there is nothing that you can't do.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah.
Monster.
It is really good.
And his new $100 million leads is really good. I dare say that one should have gone first.
Yeah. And then gone into the,
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. My number 1 is Good to Great by Jim Collins. Now, this book, for those who have never heard of Good to Great, they basically study 150 different companies and businesses and point out which ones are good versus which ones are great. Now, the great is measured on the companies who are able to sustainably do 3 times the market average of their competitors for 15 years consistently.
15 years.
Yeah, so it's a sizable amount of time.
Yeah.
They've even they basically have an entire team who break down what are the traits and what are the aspects that make this company great. And they even have outliers of companies who either made it 5 to 10 years but didn't make it to the 15-year period, the great title. And yeah, it's honestly, especially for someone who has a team, even though you may not be as big as some of the companies, like my business is nowhere near the size of the companies, there are so many good values and so many good pieces in that book.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Is that relevant to someone with 10 or less employees?
Perfect example is like a culture of discipline is one of the key things, right?
Yep.
And so whilst, in some of the past episodes of our podcast, we've talked about how I'm super flexible. I don't track what time someone starts and finishes or even how much work that they do, but I do track on deliverables.
Yeah.
I do track on communication. I do track on and always constantly improve on their creative interpretation and things like that.
Yeah. Because
they're the things that I know keep me in business. So they need to, we collectively need to be working on those things and it's understanding and being disciplined on that piece as well. So
good to great. Jim Collins.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Great book. Yeah.
Good shit, man. Well, I think this is all stuff that we consume throughout the year and then saying which were the 5 top ones and why do they make you think.
Yeah.
That's been a good exercise for me.
Yeah, beautiful.
What have I learned? So I hope this has been valuable for you guys. You've got 10 new things to listen to.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm really looking forward to the coddling of the American mind and the Wall. Yeah.
Wall Street.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
Well, it's Wall Street, is it?
Yeah, Wall Street with the H. How
Beautiful.
good. If you're not laughing, you're learning here on Dadvertising. You're learning how to spell.
If your name's Alan
Well,
Howle.
leave us a 5-star review if you like the show. And if you don't like the show, just don't tell anyone about it. That's fine. That's fine.
Just keep it to yourself.
Be Australian and just don't come back. Don't complain about it. Like a restaurant, don't tell the staff. Don't give them constructive feedback. Just leave and tell your friends you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Or not.
Thank you so much, guys. That's Dadvertising for another week. We'll see you next week. Much love. Peace out.